Aloha, namaste, welcome to this edition of the Ram Dass Webcast series, live from Maui, brought to you by the Love, Serve, Remember Foundation. Ram Dass is joined today by special guest Alan Cohen. And before we get started, just a couple quick announcements. For those of you who've been tracking the spring retreat, if you're not able to be on Maui, April 9th to the 14th, you can still join via live stream Ram Dass, Sharon Salzberg, and Jai Uttal teachings, 3 hours each day. Enjoy the teachings and sharings via live stream. It's a donation-based participation, and you can sign up at ramdass.org. While you're there at the website, you'll notice tomorrow, Monday, March 31st, the opening of registration for the 2014 Open Your Heart in Paradise Retreat on Maui. This year's retreat, December 3rd through the 8th, at the Napilikai Beach Resort, will feature teachings with Ram Dass, Krishna Das, Jack Cornfield, Trudy Goodman, Mirabai Bush, and friends. Again, registration opens tomorrow, Monday, March 31st at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. You can learn more about the retreat, the schedule of activities, accommodations, pricing, as well as view videos from previous Open Your Heart in Paradise retreats, all at ramdass.org. Today's special guest, Alan Cohen, is an author of 24 popular inspirational books, including the best-selling The Dragon Doesn't Live Here Anymore, the award-winning A Deep Breath of Life, and the classic Are You As Happy As Your Dog? He is a contributing writer for the New York Times #1 best-selling series Chicken Soup of the Soul, for the Soul, and his books have been translated into 24 foreign languages. His work has been featured on Oprah.com and in USA Today, The Washington Post, and 101 Top Experts. Alan's radio program, Get Real, is broadcast weekly on Hay House Radio, and his monthly column, From the Heart, is featured in magazines internationally. Please welcome Ram Dass and Alan Cohen.
Hello. Hello. Namaste. 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 Today, Alan and I are going to converse about spiritual things. And I just wish that grace has covered your life, and that you're joyful. You're joyful with your life. Alan, say something.
Well, as always, Ram Dass, it's an honor for me to be with you. You've been such a blessing in my life and so many lives that it's just a great high point in my life to work with you. So thank you for inviting me. Dee and I just came back from a little trip to the Big Island of Hawaii. We live on Maui, and I'm always impressed by people who are living God and living love in life without having any robes or names or titles. And, we were at the airport yesterday in Kona, and we took a shuttle bus and car rental to the plane. And the driver was a little Hawaiian woman, probably as wide as she was tall, and just jolly, jolly, jolly. It was a 5-minute ride to the departure point. And in that 5 minutes, she filled that bus with so much light. She talked and laughed and asked people, what was the highlight of your trip, and what's your idea of fun? And she helped everybody with their luggage. And people were, by the time that 5-minute ride was done, everybody on the bus was laughing and smiling and talking to each other. And then Dee and I were getting off the bus last, and she was telling us her opinions about the airlines, and just in Hawaii they call it talking story, just schmoozing.
Yeah.
And she waited. She was just talking to us for 5 minutes instead of driving away. And I said, I took her by the hand. I said, you asked us on the bus what was the highlight of your trip, and I said, I have to say at this point, you're the highlight of my trip. And that's a very mundane job, and she goes in circles all day. And in those circles, she's making each circle new, and the level of connection with those people on that bus was like a satsang. Yes. It was not a bus ride, it was a satsang. Every single person on that bus felt better by the time we got off. So she, to me, Ram Dass, is kind of one of those hidden saints that's lighting up the world without a lot of fanfare. And I know you've talked a lot about bringing divine love into human interaction, and she was a great teacher of that.
Yeah. Is it fun and happiness? I'm interested in what we call joy. Did it get you joyful?
Oh, absolutely. And it was nothing she did that got me joyful. It was the vibration she was coming from. You and I talked about unconditional love. She was coming from being joyful without needing a particular condition to make her joyful. Just sitting on that bus and chatting with people was enough for her. She needed no more than that to create joy. And so her essence exuded joy, and we caught it by osmosis, so to speak.
Did you ask her why she got that way?
We didn't get to that point. I was just happy to get it.
She meditates.
It's like the crocheting lady you met, yeah. What do you think? What do you think we need to stay joyful no matter what? What's the place you touch into that keeps you above circumstances? So tell us, please.
Yeah. Well, I had I had the soul, and just leave the ego to run things in this plane. Mm. And then when we get from the soul and you perceive the world, boy, it is so different, so different. I remember the first time I did that. And then I opened my eyes and I would meditate. And the whole, it was all lit up. And I could, the trees and the animals. My love was, then I looked at the wall. My God, the wall was. Oh my God, I love you. I love you. And I thought I'm crazy. I'm on a new plane of consciousness. And consciousness with love just glues glues all of it together. And I don't see. Let's look at the woman and my technique.
Yes.
And she doesn't have a technique unless it was a good breakfast or something. No, she had the technique. She prayed maybe.
What if she didn't have a technique? What if, as a soul, she came in and decided she would live a joyful life, or something happened to her in life that made her more joyful? Let's explore the possibility of love and joy beyond technique.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Is that where you're headed?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, little babies, you bet, quality. And they've come from the beyond. I just get up every morning and be joyful. Joyful.
You know, that woman and people like her have caused me to really rethink what I've known as the spiritual path, because I know lots of people who are very, quote, seriously on the spiritual path, and they're meditating and teaching and writing and doing all this sadhana, and they're not so happy. You know, they're trying so hard and they're striving and they're worrying about evil and worrying about their karma, and worrying about the next incarnation, and worry, does my guru love me? And this lady's light shines so bright that, well, she should be on stage at New Age conferences, you know, like, because her vibration was higher than a lot of people who were teaching. And I thought, you know, is all this stuff really necessary, or could we just choose to be happy? I mean, it's really made me rethink that.
I don't think that's the mind. Choose. And, you can make believe you were happy, but the happiness comes from a deeper place. And so I think she didn't she's done, she had it in her.
It was in her.
And she didn't decide. Today I'm going to go out and enjoy it.
Right. So do you think we all have it in us? Any of us could release that at any
And we
moment?
all have it. Everyone. And that's the Atman's Hindu thing. What's inside of us, what's inside of the soul, is a telephone with God on the other end, or your guru at the other end, or your angel at the other end, your guide. Yeah.
Let's try an identity flip on this just for fun. So, what if the guru is not on the other end, but the guru is you? What if you are the God that is transmitting versus you are the personality that is calling on God to transmit? I guess it comes back to Hanuman saying, when I remember who I am you. When I forget who I am, I serve you.
Yeah.
I've heard you say that many times.
Yeah. Well, my experience of that, what I'm getting from my guru, and the guru's heart sets my heart ablaze. I set the people around me ablaze. And it's going from heart to heart to heart to heart. That's really, that's the way that's the best social action. Because in the West we have, let's all get together and peace.
Fight for peace.
Fight for peace. But the peace is inside.
Right.
Peace is inside. I was at a rally for peace up at Flats in Colorado. Allen Ginsberg wanted me to be there. He was going to not be there, but he said, and we sat silently in the middle of this balloon. And there was speakers, I loved hearing them. They were all just beautiful. It had them down why we should fight for freedom. And that little circle. All I feel was that they had peace in them. If they wanted peace, go inside. And if they wanted peace for the society, they should get inside and then radiate it out.
You and I have talked before about Maharaji and Stephen Jobs. And Stephen Jobs was very impressed by your book, and he was very impressed by Maharaji, and he went to India looking for Maharaji, but I think Maharaji had passed by that time. Anyway, we all know what Stephen Jobs came back and did, and and I understand they had a picture of Maharaji in this room when he passed. Stephen Jobs. And so my understanding is that Maharaji is sitting naked under a blanket in the Himalayas with no fanfare, no social media, no iPad, no iPod. His influence on the world has been so tremendous through you and others like you that basically there's a piece of Maharaji in every iPad now, in every Mac, in every iPod. So I actually wrote an article called "The Guru and Your iPod," and the idea being that in his own quiet way, his connection to spirit, his being spirit, was so whole and holy and magnificent that it rippled out in manifestations and it changed the world in phenomenal ways. And he didn't go to any rallies. He just basically gave love and healed and remembered God. I mean, it's like it's mind-boggling when you think of the effect that he had in a quiet way.
Mind-boggling. I met him. He lived in a village in India, and village and village and village. He visited. So I thought, my God, I'm thinking of big things like this, changing the world, and I'm coming to him, and he's changing, 3 villages, but you can another plane, another line of consciousness.
We talked before the program about grace as well, and look at the synchronicity of your life and what led you to be with Maharaji and the effect you've had on millions of people. And it's like, how did all that get hooked up? The synchronicity of events is just beyond any human ego can understand. So I like to believe that there's a force of grace that's operating behind the scenes that is far transcends anything you or I could plan as human beings.
Yeah. Yeah. I always surrender to that force, to Maharaji. And I say, I can't figure this out. You can handle it. You can handle it.
And he does.
And
he does.
And he does.
Yeah.
I mean, my body is 82, and I'm having a great time. I keep it. Boy, I never thought that aging would be as fascinating as this. And this is his work.
I believe it.
His work.
And as long as I've known you, your spirit transcends what's going on in your body. I've seen you with aches and pains and in and out of the hospital, feeling better, feeling worse. And you're always kind. You're always patient. You're always loving. You always care. It's like the bigger you is doing grace, even while the body's doing its thing. It's been an amazing teaching to watch. I'm grateful for it.
Kind.
Yeah.
You use the word.
Yeah, you're kind.
No, I don't. Kind.
You are kind. You're very kind. You're kind. I'm not going to take it back.
I've now gotten letters or heard things that my students at Harvard or Stanford University of California used to say how kind I was and how funny I was. I was, and they made their spirit. Now, I didn't know mineralogy then.
Ah. Ah.
But I did.
But you did.
But I did.
Your soul knew it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My soul knew
Your
it.
soul knew it, sure. Dee and I saw a YouTube of you. It was a brief interview when you were Richard Albert at Harvard before you became Ram Dass. And that's the first one I had seen of you before I knew you was Ram Dass. And we were pretty impressed because you were kind, and you were funny, and you were conscious. And it showed me that who you became is really who you were. That I had it in my mind that you had this major transformation, suddenly you became kind and conscious and wise, but that's who you've always been. My belief is that your spiritual journey has just brought that forth even more and let it shine in a wider context. That's my understanding.
Do you feel that's happening in your life?
What's that in my life?
In life, you spiritual training. Do you see that spiritual training magnified your life?
That's a good question. Yes and no. Sometimes I look back on things I wrote when I was a teenager, and I thought, man, I had it then. I knew then what I know now.
Yeah.
It's like, why did I think I learned something? Because I knew it then.
Yeah.
So that's true. And then at the same time, I've definitely evolved. I've grown, I've expanded, I'm kinder, I'm more compassionate, I'm quieter, I'm clearer. So my belief is that we have an essence that's our soul essence, and then that remains true, and then the personality evolves around that. What do you think?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Coming from a Harvard professor, that's really good affirmation.
Oh, God.
Talking about personality evolution.
Hey, that's our soul.
Yeah.
Our soul has been forever. Not forever. My soul isn't 89. I always say it's my body that's 89. 82.
See, you were right. You told the truth. Your soul's not 89.
And my soul is, I feel as a soul, I'm expanding and expanding. It's not under time or space. Those are concepts we've out of here. I've just gone out and out and out. And everything I love, I merge with. So you merge with the trees and the clouds and the ocean. But an interesting thing, I'm busy working with people to one-to-one. And I go inside these people on the web or on the what's this called?
Internet?
Internet, yeah.
Skype?
Skype. It's kind of, or around here. And I go in, almost like I'm hearing the voice from inside. And I'm sure they feel that I'm an intimate. That's intimate. And it's that love. I love them. I love Marie. I love them. And so I get that merging. There's not merging. I'm not sexually merging or things like that.
You're becoming them.
Becoming them. Yeah. Being them. Being. And I'm being.
It's almost as if you're the one mind, one heart that stepped into that soul for a moment and is viewing life with their eyes as they would see it, as God would see it through them.
Yeah. I did bedside of dying people. And why? Well, that's a spiritual path. In India, when with Banaras, where the fires burn of dead bodies. Wow. And I just, I feel like I'm just that, because they do the ego. Here is my family. Doctor saved me. That's all. And then they go a little further on, and they go into their soul, and they go, oh, wow. Yeah. And that's the love is taking hold. Love is taking hold. And you feel it, I just feel that. Feel it.
So your heart is so big that it embraces all of that.
Well, Maharaji's heart is so big. He embraces me. That's,
It's passed along, huh?
yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes, I don't remember who said it, is that God is a flower that grew a nose to smell itself. Meaning that
that's right.
if the one stayed the one, there would be no experience of the one.
Yes.
So the one had to create a tentacle, so to speak, or a feeler to experience itself. And so each of us is a piece of God discovering itself with capital I in a different angle.
Yeah.
And somebody like you, a great Maharaj, big spiritual masters, have the capacity to feel life from so many different angles, and the compassion and the pain and the joy, it's all part of it, isn't it?
Yeah. That's compassion. That's the root of compassion. The root of compassion is that melding. Yeah. What were we talking about?
We're talking about a lot of good stuff. We're talking about the soul, kindness, and compassion, and soul bigger than personality and ego. My understanding is that the soul is doing what the soul is doing, and the ego is doing what the ego is doing, and we just have to let both do their thing. Even that phraseology, we just have to let it. Who's doing the letting? It's doing anyway.
Yeah. I think that the soul directs the ego.
Do you think it's possible for an ego or a personality to be so surrendered and so one that it completely merges into the soul, and the ego or personality is no longer a factor in life experience?
It's the last phrase. No matter how much you surrender the soul, you have the ego as a film. As a film, like you have your own incarnation, and your mind is like eyewitnessing from the soul.
How about Maharaji? Did he have an ego?
People ask me that many times. I was looking at pictures of him from the one that he was a sadhu and about 20 years old, and middle age, and I was doing. There seemed to be a personality. Funny thing, it depends on what you're looking at it from. Because, like most of the people, looked at it with these eyes and with ego, and they saw this man in a blanket, and can, like that story that I went up to the room at the ashram up higher to look at it. I stayed in that room for my first time in India, and now I just go in for whole wangs on, and this looked out of the front of the temple, which Maharaji was, and so I had a curtain, and nobody sees me. He had in the morning darshan, he told us we've got to have, we shouldn't get angry. We shouldn't get angry. And I looked down and he was getting angry. And he was getting angry at a sadhu. And the sadhu, I later found out, the sadhu had a bag of potatoes in the storeroom. He left it rot. And really, Maharaji, food. Everybody feeds everybody. So he was yelling around. And then the guy went away. And this old devotee came up to him, to Maharaji, and Maharaji said, "Did Ramdas hear me getting mad?" I don't know. He couldn't see me. But I says, I'm sure he's back there with the rest of them. And he said, you go up and to tell him, he'll later today, he'll get up and darshan. He'll understand. He'll understand. So, in the late afternoon darshan, there was a couple that were having a terrible time. And they had come to me, and my door was locked. And that was a bad thing. And I was, Maharaji was counseling him, and he said, you can only get angry at a person. You've got to love that person. Be able to be angry. And you can see the double consciousness. And he loved that sadhu. He kept coming back because he was so loving. And so after he said that, he found me in the group, and he, with his finger, like that.
You kind of answered the question early in your sharing, because you said something like, the soul sees everything as soul, and the ego sees everything as ego. So if you're seeing ego, you're in ego.
Yeah.
And if you're in soul, you see everything as soul.
Yes.
So that was helpful to me. Thank you the way you said that.
Yeah. I couldn't believe that it had been in me. Everybody, this sea of love. You're bathing in. Yeah.
And what if we're all bathing in that same sea right now, that it wasn't restricted to Maharaji's ashram? I mean, here you and I are, and lots of people are viewing. We have some guests in the room here. It's like Okay, we're in it now. Let's just do it now.
Okay.
Let's be it now.
Okay. Start with your ego, and then go down to the soul. I'm a bhakti yogi, so use love as the vehicle. I am loving awareness. This is loving awareness is middle of your chest. And you can put your finger on it right there. So you keep remembering. Then say, I am loving. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. I am loving. Until you are sure it's the identification is there. And I am loving, and that's the heart. And that loving awareness is a little tiny fragment of the soul, which is, the soul is another plane of consciousness. So that I am loving awareness, I am loving awareness, that's the orientation in your heart. And you relax into it. Relax into it, loving awareness. And you go. You go behind loving awareness. Behind. Behind. And you'll crack through to the next plane. The plane will be this one. You skip the other planes. The bardos. You go right to the soul. And then when you go into the soul, the soul is so big that you are in it.
Mm-hmm. I once had this image. Do you remember the old record players would be a spindle and then the vinyl record would stuck on it? I once had this image that the soul is like the spindle. It's the center of us. It's always there. And then all these other planes of existence, the personality, the ego, the astral plane, all these planes we talk about, are just connected and surrounding, but none of them are the real it. They're just kind of offshoots of the real it. And when we had our little meditation there, I felt like I was going back into the spindle, back into the soul, instead of being all caught up in the outer thing, coming back to the inner thing, the real thing.
Well, what we were talking about the spiritual life, and bringing it to the, how that sounds, that we've got to bring that to our lives. And so, I'm not sure how the spindle gets records.
Well, it's not a perfect analogy, but it's just an idea. Well, the truth is that our soul is always there, and our soul is always reaching into life. And for me, if I just trust that my soul is orchestrating my life and guiding me and leading me, then
Yes.
everything works out. When ego comes in, I try to manipulate and control and wondering why, that's when I lose it.
Control. I want control. The ego is so relentless.
What if we treat it like a little child and say, okay, honey, I know you're upset now, but this is not what we're doing. Just talk to the ego like it's in fear. It's just based on fear.
It is just based on fear. And the soul is based on love. Look at that. You look at the world, eyes of fear, and then look at the world, eyes of love. That's the difference.
That's the whole deal, isn't it?
That's different.
It just reminded me of the Chinese patriarch, I think it was Wang Tzu, who said, in a dream I saw myself as a great butterfly, and now I'm not quite sure if I was Wang Tzu dreaming I was a butterfly, or if I'm really a butterfly dreaming I'm Wang Tzu. It's like that flip, isn't it? Yeah.
This is all a dream. This is such a dream. This is the projections of our consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we can shift our consciousness, we can have a different projection. That's the way I feel it. If you shift to the planes of consciousness, then this will all around you will be different.
So could it be that heaven is right here, and we just need to look at it, notice it, accept it? Jesus said the kingdom is within, the kingdom is here.
Yeah, that's try it to right here now. Watch. Okay. This is a meditation. That's yes. Delve into the moment. the moment. The moment is not like a minute or an hour. A moment has no time. This moment has God in it. It's all the planes of consciousness, right in this moment. Delve into the moment. It breathes on your skin. All the things are things. All your aches and pains. All the suffering in the world. All the suffering. In this moment. All this can add and add and add planes of consciousness. So, God, so the God is one. God is love. And love fills every form. Fills every form. You have that love. You have that. Now, the suffering concerns you. Spread that love. Spread that love to the world. To the world. The world. The world. Just spread your love. And make sure that you love your ego. Because the ego needs love. Needs love. Wow. Yeah. You were good. You were good. You were good.